Hi, my name is Ben, and it is currently day 7 of quarantine in Rock Hill, Connecticut. Um, so what I wanted to do for this video was break it up into 3 individual aspects of my life that have been affected by coronavirus. Um, the first one being how I learn and how I really perceive information now, which has totally been completely changed by this virus to a point where I don't even recognize the way I learn anymore. While the assignments aren't out of the world difficult or really different than what I've been used to, it's the environment that has really been the biggest effect on me. So, day 7, Friday, March 20th, I have not left my house in about 4 days. A little bit earlier in the quarantine, I left to go get groceries, to run errands while my parents were at work, and play some golf, have some fun with it because it was still technically spring break. So I figured, do something fun while the sun is still up and I still have time to do it. To be honest, I never expected it to be this bad. I know in news right now they're currently thinking about completely shutting down every non-essential aspect of life right now. It means you don't leave your house unless you're going to the grocery store. Even gas stations might get shut down. So basically, this entire past 4 days have been stuck in my house. And those past 4 days, all I've really been able to do in my house is do homework and watch Netflix. So on the homework aspect, this has been my entire setup. This is all I've been staring at for hours on hours. And it starts to get to you after a while. The first few days, it's a nice calming presence, Your bed's right behind you, you're locked in this area, you can focus and do your work. You're really not distracted by a lot of outside things because not lots of outside things is going on. But then it starts to eat at you, it starts to get to you, you start to realize that you're not at school really. Throughout my entire life, I pictured this little small room as my sanctuary away from school. I get here, I can hang out with my family, grab some sleep, watch my favorite show, relax and unwind. That's been 3 years of conditioning now that I've been through this, that this is where I relax, school is where I do work, and now those two are conflicting against each other. And that's the biggest struggle for me. The online aspect has also been, I wouldn't say detrimental to my work, but it's strongly affected the way I learn and how effective I think the learning material gets to me. I've never been one to go for online classes. Now, Providence College is a steep tuition, and I assume that tuition was worth it for me personally and my family because of the class sizes and my interaction with people. That's why I love Providence College. I can meet with my professors. I get to know them on a daily basis. I get to interact with them, go to their office hours, talk to them about their day. The kids in my classes are my friends. I get to engage and learn about people. And now this coronavirus comes, and the college experience that I wanted, I expected and paid for, which is by no means the college's fault. It's just something that I personally have to accept and deal with. While Zoom has been a great addition and one way I think that really the only way I think learning can truly continue in this type of world right now, it's really just not the same. Granted, the professors are absolutely trying their best. They're trying to engage with us. They're trying to understand our problems. And they too don't have it all figured out. And we understand that on the student side. But there comes a point where, is this learning really going to sink in with us? I know I'm speaking for just my experience, but I'm sure other kids in my class haven't really learned this way in their life. During the past summer, for example, I had the option of taking organic chemistry, either in person or online. Now, if I took it online, I could take it at Providence College, count towards my GPA. Future programs such as PA programs in the future could look at that and see my GPA and my grade. Or I could go in person and I can go to University of Hartford, which is near my house in Connecticut. But at the same time, I would only get a pass-fail credit for that. So for the future, when the programs and the boards would look at the grades, they would see a P for that, or an F, but wasn't an F, thank you. But they saw a P for that, and they don't really know how well I did it. Now, granted, they could ask for further transcript, and they could see my individual grades. But at first glance, that's kind of a downfall there, to not see their grade immediately there. The schools want to see that. But my thinking was, I'd rather understand the subject here, in person, and truly understand it than just get that grade letter. By just getting that grade letter, it doesn't affect me and how I learn. Yes, it looks good for other programs, maybe it looks good for the GPA, but these are topics and strategies and ideas that I want to know for my future moving on. And learning it in an online way isn't exactly going to help me. It's never helped me before. Philosophy, theology, these are classes that I could have taken online winter classes for. But I'd rather put in the effort and make it harder on myself during this semester to take that time in person to meet with these professors, to grapple with these ideas, and talk it out one-on-one. Now, I'm not saying that this isn't possible in Zoom or in the new learning methods that have been established for Providence. It just seems more stressful because I don't know if the topics are truly being understood. And this is something I won't have the answer to until this eventually goes away. Fingers crossed, sooner than later. But as far as academics go, even if it's uncomfortable, difficult, out of what I know to be education, it's something that I still have to go with. So, in order to try to make this worth it, I've set out times for myself during the day. I wake up around normal class times. That way my sleep schedule stays intact and I'm not falling all sorts of places, sleeping through classes, missing assignments. I want to stay on top of this. So that's my number one thing. Get to sleep, wake up early. If that happens, then I'm set. As far as it goes from there, I'm trying to stick as closely to my schedule at school that I can here. Granted, now that it's quarantine and no one's moving out of the house, besides my mom and dad for a few hours of the day just to get a few jobs down. It's hard to keep that schedule intact because there's no really time. You lose track of time now. There's nothing going on. Here's 8:30 to 9:30. There's a section. Then you move on to the next one. It's just a day. And you have to work within the confines of a day, and that's it. So it's really, that freedom is, while it's enticing to students, it's also dangerous. So my biggest way of handling this space of time is to budget. Budget my time, budget my learning. That way I get things done on time and in fashion as well. I can put and dedicate myself completely to a task for an hour or to 2 hours and then be done with that for the day. That's satisfying. While I'm not used to it, it is satisfying to understand that I've worked on this amount for this topic for a set amount of hours. I can take a break and move on to the next one. I have all day to work on it. That freedom is something that I actually enjoy out of this process. It's difficult, but I can see myself definitely learning to enjoy this. And the next biggest thing is keeping track of assignments. Right now, we're getting flooded with emails left and right. It's all in our Outlook, all in this one big folder. And there's schedules, and there's assignment list, and there's this assignment. Oh, we're going to change this, and we're going to change that. So it's all over the place. Buying a calendar, or even just a notebook, and just jotting everything down. Every little detail, just to have it in one place is the biggest thing possible. And from there, once you have your day scheduled, once you have your assignments in order, it's just like in school. Granted, the next biggest obstacle is the mental aspect, trying to get past the home aspect. Everyone's here, you're with your family, you want to enjoy yourself and relax, but you still have a job to be a student. That's the part that's most difficult. So once you get your assignments in check, your time scheduled, get past that mental roadblock, it's really just a matter of getting the work done. And that's something that if you're able to do at school, you should be able to correlate to doing it at home, which so far, fingers crossed, has gone very well for me. Able to get assignments done on time. In fact, I'm a little bit ahead of the schedule. And it's because of this that I feel very comfortable right now with what the situation is. Granted, it's only been a week. Really 4 days of real quarantine, a week of being home. Spring break was enjoyable, but it's been a week of being home. So it's still up in the air. a lot of classes, we're still easing into it. We haven't really hit our foundations or our lectures yet. And I'm not going to say it's easier than it was at Providence College currently, but it definitely seems more tamed. And this is something that I can sense changing very soon. And something I expect to be a challenge for students is this change in pace that I expect to see in the next few weeks. As far as I can control, it's all about doing what I can do best. Professors are going to change their assignments. Coronavirus is going to affect the world. Governors and the president's going to make laws that I can't control. There's nothing I can do. Scientists are going to find new things. It's all about controlling what I can control academically. And as long as I stick to those three main principles of keeping organized, keeping track of my assignments and scheduling my day out, and getting past that mental roadblock of this is my house and I don't do work here, but I have to now, then I'll be completely fine. As far as it goes for learning in the home, that's about it. That's all I have really now. But there still leaves a lot of time for the rest of the day. So it is 1:30 on Friday, March 20th still, also day 7 of quarantine. And this leads into my second biggest part of dealing with coronavirus, and that is trying to stay as active as possible. Around me right now, you can see there's just a giant empty parking lot. I am fortunate enough where I get to live in an area that's not densely packed and is right next to a completely empty church currently because all religious services are suspended until further notice. And right now I have this entire parking lot to stay active. Now usually I'd have my dog with me as well, giving me company throughout this, but my brother picked her up and she's relaxing comfortably in the house. But the biggest thing that I learned so far on these 7 days is you have to stay active. At Providence, I would try all sorts of things to stay active. It's easy to get caught into that habit of, I'm just here for school, and all I need to do is bury my head in my notebook, and I'll be fine, I'll get out of here with a 4.0, I'll do great things. But the matter of the fact that I've learned these past 7 days is, you're not gonna be able to do anything unless you train your body and your mind outside of just school. So at Providence, I pride myself on trying to maintain some sort of active lifestyle, where that'd be going to the gym as often as I could, aiming for once a day with the weekends off. That way I had time to rest and recuperate. And I also played club hockey during it to keep my mind busy and keep my body active as well. And all these things, I didn't realize how much they meant to me. It was more than just a hobby or something to do to keep myself busy. It was releasing all that pent-up anxiety that school gave to me. Whether it was taking a puck to the face at 80 miles per hour or just putting things up and putting them back down. It was simple as that. I just needed to keep my body moving so that my mind would have space to do its own thing. So after spring break, which I'm going to admit did not have a lot of physical activity occur during it, I came back here and I only had 1 day of the gyms being open until they all closed. I went there for that 1 day. I felt good. I was ready to continue my active lifestyle at PC. Took a little break during spring break to have some fun, or get right back into it. That was my plan. And then the coronavirus begins to blow up, and all those plans I had stored up for a grand return to Providence College went down the drain. And it only took me 2 days inside the house to finally realize that something had to change. I began receiving emails from all my professors, from the school that was closing, and I decided I gotta do something. I'm gonna lose my mind in this household. Not due to my family, but due to the amount of work that I'm still gonna have to do in this new environment that I'm not used to. I'm not gonna be able to control myself. So, with that knowledge, I started looking around. Fortunately enough for me, this parking lot's completely empty. So now, just like I set up a routine to do my homework, I have a routine to stay active. So on every day at 2 o'clock, suspending I don't have work to do during that time, I'll come out to this parking lot and I will just run and run until I can't anymore, or until the weather turns bad and I feel relaxed and I'm ready to call it in for the day. It all depends on my mental state, because honestly, at this point, I've never had to experience something like this. If I'm getting sick and tired of studying, or say my roommates are giving me problems, I leave at Providence College. I leave, I go to Ryan, I go to the gym, I go to a library, I go to somewhere else where my problems aren't. Here, however, there is no escape to that. My family is my family. We're all quarantined in the same household, and my workload is not going anywhere. So, removing myself to an appropriate distance to where the point I'm not infecting others, and I can still relax my mind and my body, I found this church parking lot. So I come here around 2 o'clock every day and run for a mile. That's usually enough to get my mind off this topic of school. I go there, take some deep breaths, and enjoy the outside weather for a bit. Because the biggest thing I've realized from this quarantine is that while that word quarantine means isolate yourself, it doesn't mean you have to stay inside the entire day. Granted, it might come to a point where that becomes a reality, where staying inside the house is what you have to do. But as far as now, I'm going to take advantage of my environment that I have right now. Whether that's running out here or just simply going for a walk with my dog, relaxing the mind is the biggest thing I found for myself. Without that, you're running through thoughts. I'm missing assignments. Am I staying exercised enough? Am I doing everything that's right? And you get into this psyche that's not healthy for yourself. And a healthy mind means a healthy body is the biggest thing I learned from these 7 days. So if you're able to exercise your body, you're exercising your mind. And all of that forms into a healthy making of habitat. All getting into this routine that, as much as we feel our routine's gone, if we're able to create this, I wouldn't say facade of a routine, but a new one that we can adapt to and change, then that's what's going to be most important. Now, outside's only one step. There's going to be days where it's rainy. There's going to be days coming in the future where outside might not be an option for us. So, just like that's an option, we have to go and figure out other ways. So that's why, over the past few weeks, I have been trying to collect a series of weights and gym equipment that I can build myself downstairs. Granted, it's not much currently, but over the next few days, hopefully, it'll become something that I can occupy myself with and I can give to my family to try to exercise their minds and bodies as well. Because the more we do that, the better chance we have of staying together as a family and not at each other's throats like we currently are. So, I'm going to take us down to the gym for a second, talk about a little bit how I've been building there and what I do to relax down there. So it is now 1:50 on March 20th still, just running through the day in the life. And after a little bit more running, I have made it down to my little downstairs area that I have made into a makeshift type of gym. And let me tell you, it's certainly nothing that's that impressive currently, and it's not a replacement for other types of working out. But the thing that it is for me is it provides a quarantine away from quarantine. It is in a very excluded area, away from my family. Really, I'm the only one that comes down here to do anything. And that is something that I didn't think was possible during this time. Now, coronavirus definitely made me get on top of making this thing a possibility. But at the end of the day, this is just one giant stress ball designed to help alleviate all the stresses I built up during the day, everything I see on the news, my parents coming home. It's just really something that I didn't notice I needed this much until coronavirus affected the life that I was used to living. So I'll come down here for about an hour or so and really just do whatever I can feel like at that point. I've lost the majority of the routines I was doing. It's really not about trying to, build muscle or create a different shape that I like. or define myself. It's really just a stress reliever, and this is the best thing I can make for that. I would have it no other way currently. Granted, it's not pretty, but it's something that I didn't realize I needed that much. The process for me personally of literally lifting things up off of you is what I think is lifting the stress off of me currently. I don't deal well with stress. Assignments getting emailed to me, um, teachers trying to keep me updated as much as they can, sending 2 or 3 emails a day, and it just all becomes overwhelming. So I leave my laptop upstairs, bring down a speaker here, put my phone to the side, turn on a radio station, and just be myself for an hour. Just do whatever I want to for a solid hour until I feel comfortable, ready to return back to life, as as it was, as it was. Really, that's all it is. So to run through what I usually do, um, right now there really isn't any organization to it. I don't have any necessary pieces really. I just have the bench itself and a few spare weights lying around. It's by no means neat, but it gets the job done. So I'll stay about here for an hour, head up. Uh, Usually my homework's done by now, so this is really my last thing that requires real responsibility for the day. This is my last thing on the agenda. And from here, I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day, try to keep my mind as relaxed as possible, and that's about it. Oh, another thing that I've really started to pick up, although it is limited now, is this bike right there. Biking was something I always used to enjoy when going to the gym. I could just sit on the stationary bikes and go for an hour and then leave. It was a easy workout for me, and it was something that wasn't just running in place and taking a toll on my knees. So I've tried to get that out recently, and I'm expecting that to stop relatively soon as they quarantine people to their houses. But the idea of physical activity and going outside doesn't have to stop. I think that's the biggest thing that people need to realize about this entire quarantine. That it's not a complete isolation of yourself. Your entire body just will not shut down. It's about staying active and doing what you can do given the present situation. If the biggest thing is if someone showed me this setup that I have going right now while I had access to the gym, I wouldn't be grateful for this. It'd be something I tossed away only for dire scenarios where, say, I was feeling super lazy or it was snowing outside. Oh, I guess I have to use this thing. It's now something I've learned to look forward to. It's a place where I go and enjoy myself and relax and be in my own element. And I think that's really the biggest perspective about this. I've learned to enjoy really exercising myself, exercising my body. It's more than just, it's not even a chore now. It's something that I look forward to, something to relax myself, something to make the day go by a little bit faster when everything seems to slow down. In the end of the day, being grateful for what you have is the biggest thing I've taken away from this virus. So now that I have academics and athletics and activity out of the way, it leaves the majority of the day, which is free time. So, time is around 4:10 right now, also on Friday, and we're coming into the longest part of the day and the final part, which is all the free time I have. I know you want to go. There, come on now. So, the free time I've realized is my biggest change with coronavirus. It's, while something I used to look forward to, it's something that never seems to end now, which really changes the way you want to look at the way that you're living your life and how you're using your free time. The biggest thing that I found out is that social media is not what I've expected. Sorry, she wants to leave. Go ahead. It's a dangerous place to be in your free time with this virus going around. And it's something that I think people should, and I personally have tried to stay away from as much as I possibly can. It's truly dangerous how much news one can get and how quickly they can get it. I know Twitter, for example, I've subscribed to a few accounts, one being the president, one being WHO, and the other being the CDC, and as well as local hospitals and research labs, just try to keep an update on what's going on. And what I've realized is that this is constantly changing, and it's nearly impossible to keep up with the news and how fastly everything's changing in the world. So my biggest advice and the biggest change in my free time is I try to stay away from social media as far as possible. Now granted, this makes keeping friendships more difficult. It's no longer a text, hey, you want to head down to my house, we're all going to go grab something to eat. We're all back from school, let's go hang out for a bit at the tavern down the road, and we'll catch up about all the stuff we've done this semester. It's extremely limited. So relationships and stuff, that way, it's definitely changed. We're not nearly as close, and personally, but we try to make it work. Basically through FaceTime, again, just like with teachers and students, it's a very similar relationship with friends and people who don't go to Providence, who I'm friends with from my town. I can't see them right now. Parents are under quarantine. You just don't really have a place to hang out anymore. So there's definitely an electronic atmosphere around friendships now, relationships, but it's a fine line between social media and friendships. Trying to keep up with how everyone's doing is nearly impossible, and trying to keep up with how the world is doing as a whole is daunting and scary. I know, for example, every time I go back into Twitter, there's a new statistic that comes out about the virus. 40 more infected here, 3 dead there, and it's terrifying. It's overwhelming for one person isolated in a house in one upstairs to just be staring at this constant and never-ending news feed. And it's something that I don't think people should do anymore. Granted, don't get me wrong, staying informed is extremely important, something that we should all try to do, especially with these new virus and constant policy updates that the state's trying to inflict on people. That way they can flatten the curve of this virus. I think it's something people need to stay updated on. But at the same time, it's a scary rabbit hole. I know already, looking into this virus, there's a whole train of Twitter users thinking that this is not just a virus. This is the beginning of a whole new world order. And there are paths like these all over social media, and that's the scariest part. To think that you go to check to see how your state's doing and how it's handling, what laws are being passed, and how everything's being handled in this way. And you go there and you get lost into this new world order. There's military trucks everywhere, the government's trying to take us over. And it's just all the stress and anxiety being thrown on people that is unnecessary. They have one job right now as citizens and as friends and family, and that's to keep you and your immediate family members safe. You and whoever you come in contact with, safe. That's all you should be worried about. If there are new laws and regulations or testing centers being set up, yes, you should go to them, obtain that information, write down where they are, find out how far you are from them. Symptoms, keeping track with that. If there's new strains of the virus, which there are now, keep track of that. And it's just keeping your outside knowledge limited, but also knowing when to find the necessary details is a fine line. And I don't know if people have truly understood that line yet. I think it's going to happen very soon. I think that the next few weeks are going to be a judgment for how people spend their free time. And if they're going to go down this rabbit hole of lost facts and Illuminati and New World Order and everything, and this is usher of a new world, and if they're going to stay scientific, and if they're going to find out how to protect themselves and their family. As far as that, I mean, I'm also scared to look at how much screen time I've spent these past few days. I know my phone keeps track of it, and I'm sure my Netflix account keeps track of it, and it's something that I don't think is particularly beneficial for me, but it's something I can't shake. Whenever I'm at school and I don't have any work, I enjoy a quick episode of Netflix or pop on a YouTube video or something like that just to pass the time. But at home, there's so much free time that this can become a problem. I think people, now on these past 2 days, I've been trying to steer away from the screens, possibly focus more on my academic work, look into other articles and stuff that interests me, reading things more than watching things. And I feel like that's both been beneficial for my mental state as well as obtaining knowledge about the world around me and the ever-changing landscape that we find ourselves in. Positives to that, you can definitely, this is a time to become more educated. I think there's a lot of rumors that go around, a lot of paranoia, a lot of fear, the grocery stores being out, all sorts of hysteria going across the world. And while some of it's rightly so, people should be scared of this virus as it is highly infectious and it is changing our landscape, you can learn from it too. Learn what you need, learn what you don't need. And it's a time to, when you gather those facts, to understand it and share with the people, share with your neighbors, share with your family. Make beneficial social media posts, try to educate the others. And I think that this is what we're truly learning from this virus in our free time, is that we are a community. As much as we like to say, oh, I can conquer the world by myself, humans are social beings, and we require other people to stay with and to work together with and to figure problems out with. We're social beings. It's how our minds are structured. We can't really accomplish difficult tasks by ourselves. And when we're considering a virus like the coronavirus, it's the most difficult task we've faced in a century. So understand where other people are as well. We're a community and we have to treat others like that. I see constant news stories of hoarding materials and toilet paper and hand sanitizer and things that all of society could benefit from, and yet a few individuals are hoarding them. And these are the types of examples where we need to stand up as a society and say that's not acceptable. This is not how we're going to live. Because if we want to make it through this entire thing, then we have to man up. We have to come together, put aside our differences, and realize that this has to be a collective effort. There's no way around it besides that exactly. To come together and realize that we're all in this together. There's no other way. And that's the biggest thing I've learned from my free time. There has to be a sense of understanding, knowledge, education, and gratitude to what we have and what we experienced. Overall, there have been things that I've taken for granted, which I'm realizing now. One being my ability to go anywhere. I was never monitored or limited in where I went. Want to go to the grocery store? Sure, I'll see you back in 5 minutes. Stay at a friend's house? Sure, be back by 12. All these things that we take for granted, I think we're going to see a massive change. I think when this is all over, and it will be one day, I'm not sure when, but it will be. And by that time, I think we're going to realize how much we all mean to each other. So, who's ever watching this, stay safe, watch out for one another. Don't look at screens too much, try to stay active, get your work done. We'll get through this. Thank you. Friends, how the coronavirus has affected them. So with me today, I have two people.
Hi, I'm Tracy, Ben's mom.
I'm Grace, Ben's sister.
And we're going to start off with a first question. When or what date did you first feel affected by coronavirus?
I would say it's Tracy, Ben's mom. I would say that for me, it became real when I started, I think it was Friday, March 13th, when we started talking about at work how to quickly deploy people to be work from home workers, which was something that was really different from my company and something we had never, ever thought would happen. And that was a long weekend of a lot of conference calls trying to strategically work with business partners to make that happen.
And mine would be the day that we started online learning at school, which was the second week of our schools being closed, so the 23rd and then that Sunday.
Okay. And how has it changed / is it changing your habits right now?
I'll take that. It's totally changed my habits. I work from home now. My life is spent basically commuting from my bedroom to my office. At home, I don't get to interact with my colleagues. I have to learn how to manage remotely. I'm also working amongst a bunch of young adults here who are schooling and studying and working too. So my life has probably changed dramatically.
I also agree that my habits have changed because I'm not going to school for 7 hours anymore and then doing my homework when I get home. I'm working, doing schoolwork the entire day, but from my bedroom and all online. And I'm missing my classmates and doing group FaceTimes and Hangouts to try to bring back some normalcy, but my habits have definitely changed.
Okay, good. So, if you had or have time that you didn't expect to, have you done anything new or differently? If not, is there anything you're considering doing?
Yeah, it's a really good question because I think about that a lot, and I basically have said to myself, if I ever complain about being busy again, someone hit me, because the not busy is probably the hardest thing. But I do look at things I could be doing differently, but I haven't quite been motivated enough to do anything yet. But I do think about, projects around the house and things like that that could get done, but I haven't had the drive to start them.
The question was, if you had or have time that you didn't expect to, have you done anything new or differently? If not, is there anything that you're considering?
Oh, well, I cleaned my room for the first time in probably like 2 years. And I watch a lot of Netflix, so I'm running out of shows to watch. And, I just didn't have that time before, so I like having that time.
And for Grace, what are you doing to adapt to ease anxiety, stress, or fears that you felt or feel? Do you have any strategies?
Well, one would be staying organized in my room, especially because that's where I am most of the day, and making a schedule and then sticking to it and checking things off as I go makes me feel very accomplished. And getting out of the house as much as possible and being in nature. Yeah, very into nature.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. What are you doing to adapt to ease anxiety, stress, or fear that you feel or felt? Do you have any strategies?
Yeah, I don't think I'm doing the best that I could be doing with it. Like I say, oh, go for a walk, or people will say, go exercise. I'm just staying in contact with close friends and reaching out to people more and having conversations, just kind of sharing and commiserating together.
To go on that, how have you noticed that this new virus has affected your relationships with others? Friends, family?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Family-wise, it's been hard because we're all adapting to living together and adjusting. But friends, I think, not really much change there. Just trying to reach out more and talk to each other.
Grace?
Well, I think I realized that a lot of people I wouldn't necessarily talk to if I didn't have school every day and was forced to talk to them. So I am talking to less people, I would say, because I don't like them. And trying not to kill my brothers in this house. Not sure if that's going to get me in trouble. Yeah.
And are there any new words or phrases or anything that you've heard a lot more of lately? Phrases people use when they say hello or goodbye?
Stay safe. Wash your hands. Stay healthy.
Yeah, a lot of be safe. A lot of be
safe.
In fact, I found myself signing some of my emails to my team, be safe, or just in general, becoming part of my signature line on my emails.
How do you think it has affected you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually?
Physically, I think I've eaten more in 2 weeks than I have in a year, so that's not good. Spiritually, I think there's always times that we turn to, our religion to help with things. I definitely think this has had a major impact on my life.
Grace, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, physically, I'm probably nowhere near as active as I was before. Mentally, it's been hard. I would say a lot of stress about uncertainty and just wanting to go back to my normal routine. So definitely it's been hard mentally, but there's also been good moments too.
Now, Grace, you've been doing online learning. Is there any ideas for improvement there that you've
I would
picked up?
say everything needs improving, because if you didn't know, this is Rocky Hill Public Schools. Yeah, I'll say it. And they do nothing is going well. And I think, well, obviously this wasn't predictable. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done, and I would like to see some improvements, as this is now the second week of online learning. And for some teachers, I understand maybe technology isn't your thing, but maybe you should learn, because we're all struggling. And what are you doing? Because you're not teaching. I want to know.
And to just wrap up, your guys' thoughts. Anything else you'd like to add before I ask one last question onto that?
No, I thought you had another question for me.
Oh, well, I would also like to add, how do you think, this is more to Mom, because Grace, you have no idea what you're talking about in this area.
What are you talking about?
How do you feel about how the government and state officials, federal officials are handling this?
So, I'm not really into politics. I'm not someone who, jumps on a bandwagon, supports one or the other at this point. I just feel that we need to do more. And I think there's certain times in our life that we need to exert powers. And I feel that leaders don't always make the popular decisions. And there's a lot of decisions that leaders have to make that are difficult. And we need people who can be strong leaders and make some unpopular decisions now that have a long-term benefit. And I feel that our decisions have not been strong enough, and I think it's evident in how things are going.
Grace, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I just advise that we all stay home, because my TikTok For You page is about to run dry. So if we don't get this over with and I can stop watching TikToks, then it's going to get ugly, okay?
So, in conclusion, there's definitely a variance of how people feel about this. There's some menial things, such as TikTok and stuff, that we're sacrificing. But there's also big sacrifices in the family unit, as well as in the political scheme. So that is how it is affecting my family currently. And it is basically along the lines of what I talked about, with a few more considerations about work and family life. And I will talk about that in the paper, which is coming up next. Thank you.